Greetings, Exiles. Bullshifter here, back again with another PlayStation 4 Path of Exile stream. So this is my second stream back on YouTube. I had a great time the first time around. I do apologize for anyone who was hoping to catch the stream right after I had done it. As it uploaded, I didn't realize that it didn't actually upload as public for some reason. So some of you may only have been able to catch that just today. I'll definitely make sure to check sooner to make sure that this one goes up right away, so that way everyone can go ahead and catch the stream as it happens. So right now I'm actually going through an older area. As you can see, I'm in Act 2. I missed a couple Trials of Ascendancies while I was kind of rushing through, so I'm just kind of going back through and just essentially making sure that I can come back through and just actually get all my Trials of Ascendancy done so I can, well, basically get my Ascendancies. So we can probably just go ahead and really cruise through this quickly. We have to actually find the area that the trial is in, though. I only missed 2, so we'll do these 2 trials real fast, and then go ahead, hit the Labyrinth, and then I'll just keep progressing through the game. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I did end up going with Cyclone, just because it's something I wanted to try out. I loved using whirlwind builds in Diablo, so when I heard melee was viable again, even before a ton of people were talking about using it, it was kind of already in my mind to use. Truthfully, even if it wouldn't have been all that great, I still would have ended up using it. And yeah, it's quite a bit of fun, to be honest.
Spirit is spent.
I do have to somewhat watch how much I'm actually spamming my Leap Slam, just because I am using a double curse as an aura build, so my mana pool is not all that great right now. But as I progress through the game, I'll be able to add on to that, so it won't be as much of a big deal. Plus, I can always, pop a Quicksilver Flask, and kind of negates the fact that I can't just Leap Slam around everywhere. And honestly, just like a couple of Cyclones ends up negating all that anyways. It helps me completely rebuild my mana back up, so it's basically, as long as I actually have some enemies around me to attack, like, it's absolutely fine. Hey, what's up? But I'm looking forward to, even with my limited amount of time, actually getting through the game this week to start mapping. And I do plan on just doing the 1 character this league. I did 3 last league. I just kind of wanted to focus a bit more. So the 2 curses I'm using, I think, yeah, I've got them both on my gloves. So I'm using vulnerability, essentially just to increase my physical damage on enemies. And it also includes my increases my bleed chance and my chance for them to be maimed. And then I'm also using Enfeeble, which essentially is taking down most of their attack skills. So it's basically making it so I'm doing more damage to them and they're doing less damage to me, was the whole idea behind it. So I'm going to head back to Act 3, because I don't actually 100% remember where the last Ascendancy that I hadn't done was at. Hey, what's up, Darkness? Yeah, Double Curse is pretty fun. I said it's holds like 70% of my mana because I'm using them both as auras, but just gotta go to the Catacombs to finish this off. But I think it's worth it just because I'm essentially gaining all of my mana back as soon as I go ahead and I'll have to head there from the marketplace as soon as I actually use my Cyclone. So it's not too bad at all. Hey Wavy, how's it going? You guys are active in here tonight, I like it. Yeah, basically just going through and finishing off these pesky trials. Pretty sure this is where it said the other one was in the catacombs. Yeah, so see, as soon as I start attacking the cyclone, it just completely builds everything back up. Yeah, it should be right over here. I thought. No, it's just ancient graffiti. It's probably over here then. Usually these books will mark where the trials are. Yeah. Slam that lever. And something cool I didn't even take into account when I was originally creating this build. And I actually decided to change the... Wow, that was the easiest trial in the history of trials. So the way that Leap Slam works now is you actually stun any enemies that you hit right away. Like if they're at full health. I'll show you here. So damaging hits always stun enemies that are full on life. So if you go ahead and you attach an endurance charge on melee stun support, you're basically like guaranteeing some endurance charges right away. So you can also stack some defense that way. Fortunately, my game doesn't really crash all that much. I'm running on a pro. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I might get blue screen like a couple times a week tops, which, considering how much, you know, I used to blue screen when the game first came out, I guess I consider that a win. So the other ones, I just have blood and sand, just because I don't really have anything to attach that to, so that's why I don't have a connection there. I just don't have any support gems that would really make any sense to put on that. And then the other one's blasphemy support. That's what actually turns my 2 curses into auras. But it does reserve 70% of my mana. You won't see it while I'm here in town, but as soon as I actually hit like a normal area, you'll see it then. So let's go ahead. We're going to crush this labyrinth. Like, this isn't even going to be fair. Like, this is something I should have done a while ago and just completely missed a couple of Trials of Ascendancy. So you guys are about to see the most one-sided run ever. Basically cough on half these enemies and they die. Actually a little surprised they even survived the Leap Slam. Now, one thing I actually don't do, even when running the gauntlet, is I don't really check the database to see what the layout is. Kind of like being surprised. So yeah, you'll see those 2 little icons above all the enemies' heads, and that just means that they have both of those curses. Throw your wind at me all you want. Yeah, it's the only thing that really has any chance of doing anything to us are the actual traps themselves. So, as long as I'm not stupid about this, this will be a super easy run. The only items I'm really going to run into here that'll probably be useful will be chromatic items. I'm not going to find anything in this low level of an area that's actually going to be useful to my build. Currency will still be useful, I suppose. Now, one thing I will have to be somewhat careful about here is the fact that I don't have any life regen. because I took a node that makes it so I leech twice as much, but I don't get any life regen at all. So basically my life isn't going to naturally fill back up. I have to attack things in order for that to happen. Which is a relatively fair trade-off though, because of how fast I can actually leech life. But it's just one more thing that means the more enemies that are in the area, the better off for this build. The idea is essentially to output enough damage while leeching enough damage to the point when I get to higher tier maps, I can just sustain the whole time and not really have to worry about anything. We'll see how it works out. Gotta find where the actual exit is here. Hopefully... Okay, there's an area we can move up in that corner. Okay, yeah, it's probably through here. Yeah, this is, running this labyrinth's gonna make my build look a lot more powerful than it actually is at this point, but it is coming along really nice. The only time I've actually died recently has been just like weird rubber band lag issues, or when the hits don't register for some reason. Level 35. Yeah, nothing I need. So he's gonna open up, come up here, and then he's pretty much gonna run away. He's still sticking around, if I was gonna say. Yeah, this build's been fun. I've got my ancestral war chief now. Pop that guy up. He'll do some melee attacks for us, but the big thing is he'll actually give us a boost to our melee damage on top of it.
The son of Esamir met the son of San upon the road to the Imperial throne. The Eternal offered his cunning. His eyes and ears bought and paid for.
I don't know why I always open that poem when I come into the first labyrinth.
Earned in the arena. A pact was forged. The
Pact was forged.
Two men separated by blood. Two men bound by hope. Two men.
Potentially one throat. This treasure key. And yeah, I don't know, that other stuff's gonna be useful. Yeah, the nice thing will be, regardless of the fact that we're over leveled for this though, at least we'll still get an enchantment at the end of it too. Actually have to check and see. My gloves are even decent, so I mean this box is kind of pointless, because one, grabbing those will typically limit the amount of keys that you get at the end. We're going to hope to at least get a few keys from the boss at the end here, just because there is a chance we'll just open up a treasure chest, get a bunch of useless items, but at the same time we could potentially get a bunch of good currency. So currency is more or less what we're hoping for here when it comes to drops. And we got to go up this way. I got my map a little too transparent. But I'm kind of roaming around blind here anyways, just because I didn't look up the pattern before coming in here. Does look like there's a direct way out though. I bet you it's over here. So I don't want to head off to a little side area just to have to go through a whole nother map. If I can just rally around the corner here and find the direct passage there. It's probably up through here. Yep. Another Aspirin's Trial right away. That's typically how I'll play these, especially if I'm over-leveled. I just try and go right through the trials as quickly as possible and just get it over with. And that's it for him there. I don't know why he's still roaming around. He's not taking any more damage. So only one last fight with him. And then we'll grab our first ascendancy points. So I do have to admit, there's actually another game coming out this week that I'm super excited for, just based off of childhood nostalgia. Because on Thursday, we all get to play Crash Team Racing. Now, admittedly, I'm not a big racing person, like when it comes to racing games, but I love me some Crash Team Racing. I like kart racing games. Kart racing games are fun. You won't see me playing like The Crew or Gran Turismo or anything, but you'll definitely catch me playing Crash Team Racing and Mario Kart and stuff like that. Yikes. This is bad. Thought for sure we'd have an area we could go up. Oh, it's because I didn't hit the lever. Doi. I must have been too far down. Still taking burning damage. Man, I feel like that fire comes back really fast. Game knows I'm trying to rush through. Just tell me to slow down. Grab that scroll, because why not? There's not a whole lot of stuff we can actually grab here. Let's go back and get these guys. That's the other thing, we're going to suffer an experience penalty here too, so don't think we'll be leveling up, even as close as we are. See, I don't want to go up there, I want to head straight over. There we go. Typically, if you check the maps, those doors are typically kind of placed where you would expect them to be. So, like, it's kind of hard to explain, but when I was in that little area before this, like where the green line goes backwards, I was in that room, and the area to the left led to that door, but I kept going right, like kept going straight, essentially, and it actually led me to the room that we're in now. So typically it will be kind of set up close to how it's actually set up on the map. I do some delving. I'll usually delve come endgame. The only reason I didn't really delve a whole lot last season, especially on stream, was just because of the fact that I made too many characters. Was trying to get through a lot more mapping stuff. But I definitely want to hit the delve a lot more this league. mostly because I really enjoy crafting, and I think delving is the best way to get resources to craft, just because you get the fossils and the resonators, and it works out really well. Bizarro time indeed. Just gotta find that last door.
My spirit is spent.
Not get killed by arrows. Up here, maybe? We gotta be close. This room is kind of awkward. This layout's just all over the place. Oh, there's a door. Fingers crossed this is the one. Sure is.
Can afford to be promising.
No, we're not going to get 7% from the last Azaro fight, I don't think. I'd be surprised. I sure wouldn't mind. This is actually a super easy room layout, too. The bane of my existence last league was when they put you in a little tiny room. Nice, we got all 3 treasure keys, so we actually have 4 total. I hated when you get put into a tiny room with like little spike traps all around you. We don't have any use for any of those. Hey, unique. Bunch of upgrading materials. Bunch of disappointing stuff. It's not gonna be all that great. Yeah. But we got our ascendancy. That's what we were going for. So we're gonna hit Slayer. Yeah, let's see. So I'm gonna go with these all these top ascendancies here. Might go with just the pure damage first. Now, the reason why this one's important is because of when you're rolling maps, typically there's 2 that are just killers for everyone, and it's reflected physical damage or reflected elemental damage, because everyone does one of those 2, and because your damage output is so much higher than your actual defenses, not many builds can withstand their own damage type. So this makes it so I can't take any reflected physical damage, and it's a purely physical build. So essentially, I don't have to worry about any of those map rolls. So that's kind of my main idea of going this way for that one. And also, you know, killing enemies that have 20% lower life by going up to this top node after that is really useful in itself. So one thing we don't want to forget to do is go here and enchant our gloves. Our gloves are actually somewhat close to our level, so we might actually use these for a little while. We take a critical strike. So that's a little counterproductive to what our build is, because one of our curses actually lowers our enemy's chances of critical striking. And that's not to say that they won't. They just have a 25% reduced chance. But we'll still take critical strikes every now and again. So, I mean, that's alright, but nothing I'm going to be using with this build. So we can actually go ahead and throw some of this stuff into our stash, and then we can just progress through the game after this. And those are just stuff to sell. And so back to Act 7 we go. Well, I guess technically back to Act 3, and then back to Act 7. So yeah, I'm only a few acts away from actually getting to the point where I'll be mapping. And then, I mentioned it in the last stream, but for those of you who weren't in the last stream, I do plan on doing some community play streams. So basically, once I get to endgame and start mapping, I'll just kind of... I'll have to figure out some way to do it that'll work, to where people can go ahead and just join the stream, play along. I think the easiest way will probably be to just kind of obviously promote people joining the PS4 community, Bullshifters, Exiles, because through there you can just join people's sessions that are in progress. So that would just be kind of like a first come, first serve type of thing, where people can just, you know, join if there's an open spot. I think that's the most fair way to do it. Plus, it incentivizes everyone to come be a part of the community too, so I think it's a good idea. Easiest way to join, and, you know, you get to be a part of a nice community of people. I have yet to see even the smallest amount of anything that would even resemble hostility from anyone in that group, so very, very nice group of people. So for those of you who have not joined the PS4 community yet, shame on you. Little incentive to do that. So this is kind of how the build performs in the area that I'm actually in. But, you know, we still kind of cruise through everything. At the start of the last stream, we definitely weren't this powerful, but I finally gotten to the point where I have a nicer balance of nodes. I kind of jumped around a bit awkwardly through my passive tree when I started, and started kind of regretting it early on. I also tried using Cyclone a bit too early. Probably should have waited until I was somewhere in the 40s. Just because, I mean, you do still need some passive skill tree nodes to kind of make Cyclone live up to its full potential. I thought because of the patch notes and the different changes that have been made to it, it'd be more viable early on, but you still need a few support gems and a few passive skills in order to make it an actual, you know, decent usable skill. Here we'll be leveling up any moment, though. There we go. Level 57. Actually, yeah, we've actually out-leveled this area, too. It's just difficult when you're running something like Cyclone to not just go through and kill everything. Just because it helps me get the full life, helps me get the full mana. And it's just so awesome spinning around that fast. Who can argue with that? So, for those of you who caught my video earlier today, basically what I'm going to run this monolith, but I'm just trying to clear out the area first. Hopefully I'll have a little better luck than I had in that video. There we go, currency right away. Wasn't bad at all. A decent little run. Stack deck. Drop some good currency. Chaos Orb, I'll take it. I will take it. God, wouldn't an Exalted be great there? I'm sure plenty of people have had it happen. Let's see, what currency do I have on me right now? Yeah, nothing to actually upgrade it. We'll just open as is. It's whatever. A couple of portal scrolls. So even though this one up here is blue, I'm still going to identify it, just to be sure, because I don't want to be frozen and get caught completely off guard. Selling skeletons, that's not a big deal, it's whatever. And a bunch of garbage. Yeah, you can absolutely change mods on maps. There's a couple ways to do it. So, say if you are running a blue map, you can actually use one of your orbs to go ahead and just re-roll magic modifiers. I'll show you actually which exact ones you can use once we finish this boss fight. I'll go into my stash, and I have a currency tab in there. I can show you exactly the currency you'll use for everything.
My spirit is spent.
Thought he was going to get us there. Came close there. Oh, I don't even have all my curses and everything up. I made that go a lot faster. Think you're too cool for school, don't you? I got news for you, Walter Concrete. You aren't. Down goes Fraser. Alright, so he's taken care of. Went down like a punk. So, we'll go back into town. I'll show you exactly what currency I was talking about. But yeah, you can totally reroll mods on maps. Crap. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to talk to Silk. So we'll go ahead and head back to the encampment, because that's the only place we got our stash at near here. Gears keep on rolling. Hopefully eventually they can lower the load times in the game too. Okay, so we go to our stash. So basically when you've just got a normal white map, you know, you can use an orb of transmutation, upgrade it from a normal to a magic. Now after you do that, if there's only one modifier on it, you want to add another, you can always use an orb of augmentation, which will just give it a new random modifier. If you're just trying to re-roll all the mods that are on it when it's blue, you can use an orb of alteration. So that'll change all the random modifiers that are on the blue item. Now, if you upgrade it to a gold item, there's a couple of ways you can go about changing that. One is a chaos orb, which if you've collected enough of them at that point in the game, eventually you can blow through a couple of chaos orbs. It's not a huge deal, especially if it's a modifier that's going to stop you from being able to run the map. If you're trying to reserve your chaos orbs though, you can actually use an orb of scouring to revert it all the way back to a white map, and then you can just use another orb of alchemy on it to upgrade it from normal to rare. I mean, I guess you could you could get two mods you really like using, you know, transmutation and alteration, and then from a blue turn it into a gold with a regal orb, but I would probably not do that, just because my own personal preference. But the only thing I'm really worried about when it comes to maps is just making sure I don't hit mods that I absolutely don't want. There's not really any mods that I absolutely want, if that makes any sense. So I more or less save my regal orbs for actually crafting items themselves. So like gear, any sort of gold items, or I mean using it as actual currency to buy something. So I wouldn't necessarily use it for maps. It's kind of a waste that way.
One less twisted.
Well, let's see. So I'm not going to use any of these because the unique that I have on here right now, I'm using that because of that last stat on there. It allows me to apply an additional curse. Because normally you can only apply one curse to enemies at a time. There's a few different items you can use to counteract that. One is a ring, the other is those boots. Identified anyways. Increased armor is nice, and so is the strength.
Greetings.
But I've been trying to get extra health on pretty much, or extra life on pretty much everything. So I probably still wouldn't have used those even if I wasn't using that unique. So let's go ahead and move forward. This is kind of what's nice about this act, is just about everything I need to do is in the exact same area. Chamber of Sins is where it's at. Alright, so actually forget what exactly we had to do. Oh, we have to access the den. Oh, we've got another monolith here, so that's nice. Ah, that's right, we gotta go around. I actually kind of hate how this is set up. Those little blockades that don't show up on the actual map itself. Won't complain about Chaos Orb drop, though. I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I've noticed a lot more Chaos drops in this league than in Synthesis. I feel like I have a lot more at this point in the game than I did at this point in the game in Synthesis. Take these guys out. There's probably a few down here too. Oh, maybe not. Ah, see, it's not hitting. It's doing that weird not registering thing again.
My spirit is spent.
Like, I know accuracy is a thing in this game, but I feel like when my Cyclone just randomly stops hitting everything, that's not necessarily supposed to happen. It happens at the most random times, too. It seems like once I miss one thing, like, I literally miss everything. That's probably the only other thing that's caused me to die recently. Crossroads, that's not where we want to go. That's actually where we came in from, technically. So it's kind of strange that this build, in order to travel through faster, I actually hope to run into enemies. Otherwise, I run out of mana pretty quickly. I mean, the other thing I could do, I could definitely put on a flask to recover mana. Or while I'm traveling through, I could turn off my curses. But areas like this, you're typically going to run into enough enemies anyways to where I just keep doing what I'm doing right now. So even though we're using a relatively small mana pool, because 70% of it's in reserve for our 2 curses, we kind of make up for it. Ooh, nice 6-socket item. Snag as many of those as I can find. Time to kill still a little slow on this build, but it's definitely coming around. Now, speaking of which, I was building down here. Some two-handed damage.
The path to justice is slender and perfidious, fraught with missteps, ambition and despair, egotism. Should you choose this road, beware those who waylay your hopes and disempower your dreams. Remain sure, remain true.
it's just stopping those wheels from turning. It's not really all that useful. Just leap slam over everything anyways. Fortunately, these are pretty quick to run through though. So I think that's actually, yeah, that's all three, so we can actually run the next lab already. Yeah, I mean, it's killer for any sort of leeching build, because obviously, you know, the big thing you're trying to do is literally hit everything. So when Cyclone just starts randomly missing things, it's just killer. So this is going to blow up and ignite us. It's like right here, like everything's fine. But if we would have stopped hitting things there, we'd have died almost instantly. Grab that because it's a superior. So I'm doing this league too, just to make things a little easier on myself once the league ends. The only gems I'm actually grabbing are ones that I'm actually going to use, or ones that have quality added to them already. For anyone who's checked out like my inventory videos, one thing I do try and do is actually hold on to one of every gem. It's mostly just so that way like I have them sitting there in reserve for me to try out different skills when I want to. Just because that's one thing that Standard actually is pretty good for, is trying out some new things. Because, I mean, you know, a good example is you're not going to get the league content this league in Standard, but you still have, like, the melee update and everything else. So the mechanics are all the same, minus the monoliths. You know, and obviously you're not going to get, you know, the cosmetics challenges or anything like that, but, you know, everything's current as of the, you know, actual mechanics of the game itself. So anything that you test out there, it's going to be relevant, you know, to this league also. So it just kind of gives you a good idea of what may or may not work. It just gives you an environment to actually test that in. Normally I probably wouldn't have sat there and attacked that gold, but I had gotten so many other random enemies at that point that I kind of just wanted one with an icon over his head. I'm about due for an incubator here too. I haven't had one in a minute. Not going to get one here though. Unless one of these randos is going to give me one. Nope, just some armor, scrap, whatever. I'm hoping it gets better when I start mapping, but honestly, if it doesn't, I kind of hope they up the drops of incubators. It's like the one thing to be excited for it to drop, and they just don't drop very often. It's kind of disappointing. Yeah, this is actually one of the few builds I've used since the game's come out on PS4 that doesn't utilize elemental equilibrium in some form or fashion. Because it's a really great skill, especially once you learn all the different ways that you can manipulate it to just boost your damage constantly. But I wanted to try out a full-on physical build, so that was what I did with this, just to try something new. I'm not actually sure I've run into the red cloud of death. If I did, I guess I probably just cycloned right through it. Yeah, I'm honestly unsure what that is. But I'm definitely all ears. You have me intrigued now. Space tank this guy. Give me your essence. You can keep punching, bro. It's not gonna matter. Dead end. Yeah, like right here. I wasn't hitting anything. Oh, there's the lag spike there too. It might have actually been why I wasn't hitting anything. What's up, Nico?
Greetings.
Honestly, once I fill up my sulfate with him, I may go down to the delve literally just to upgrade that. Nice Norbis scouring. Ooh, blessed orb. Silver coin. Cutthroat's guard probably isn't anything I'm actually gonna use. Come on, someone drop an incubator. I'm so due for one. Oh, still nothing. A lot of igniting me when activated. Did not mean to grab that.
My spirit is spent.
Oh, let's get you some more spirit. There we go. I feel like I should be able to jump over that wall. It's kind of garbage. Actually, I'm not sure if that's the place I wanted to go to. Stop touching me. Okay. Yeah, this is the right direction. I always second guess myself because not only in this game but in real life, a terrible sense of direction. These things that we travel backwards the exact opposite way of the game. I stopped hitting stuff there for a second. So I've noticed, like, when you're using Cyclone, you stop hitting stuff. Usually if you quit holding X and then just kind of reproc your skill, you'll start hitting things again. Just kind of annoying. Doesn't really make any sense why it happens in the first place. So I'm hoping they address it soon. I do enjoy the increased mob density with the new update though too, because I know they did some adjusting to add more difficulty to the early game, which, I mean, I would still consider Act 7 kind of early game. Basically anything before mapping, I would probably still consider early game. Alright. Here we go, nice little boss fight. He spawns plenty of minions for us to leech life off of too. Bringing those minions in. And he's dead, Jim. Grab the chromatic. This helmet could be potentially nice.
Turn away the tyrant's face, and kingdom end with
Talk to Sin. And head out of here. Oh, that would be why then. Yeah, 'cause I'm still in the late 50s. So, if that's the case, I might just have to make like a PSA video talking about it. Appreciate the heads up though. Yeah, unfortunately, out of like all the content creators on YouTube, I probably get the least amount of time to actually play games. But that's alright. I try and get stuff out there as quickly as I can. I definitely appreciate everyone's patience with the videos. Just haven't had any luck with drops in these monoliths. Some decent currency items at least. Come on. Big money, no whammies. Just unfortunate. I can't remember the last time I had an incubator drop. I want to say like Act 4. Maybe Act 3. It's just been a hot minute. I even like the attack sound of Cyclone. Just satisfying. Time for the cow's way. Another monolith for us.
I believe in traveling light.
Carrying too much stuff. So we'll run this first. which way for me to go. Hopefully I'm hitting both standing here. I only got the one though. We got a little bit of currency, some essence. Might have to go back. Yeah, I gotta go back into town and sell some stuff off. Oh, for sure, man. I appreciate it. That's the big reason why I make the content in the first place, just to help everybody out. Okay, that makes sense that that's where it would come from. I'm sure I'll probably try and face tank it a couple times just to see, you know, basically if I can out-leech it. Like the fact that it's a 4-link. Fire resist is a little higher, but I need to add lightning resist on it, and it's full on suffixes, so this is probably not realistic for me to equip right now. I'll find something better.
There's an Asmeri shop.
Ah, crap. Don't give me things, just take my stuff. Don't offer me things, I'll tell you what I want. That makes sense, though, that it would drop more mapping, just because, I mean, I've always said the reason why I don't really boost like my item find and stuff like that in games is because I'd rather boost my DPS so that I'm killing more things more frequently. Just because, in my opinion, you know, more kills equals more drops. So the density very well could be it. It makes sense anyways. 14.6 over 3. Yeah, it's not really going to cut it. What was the other effect on here? Physical damage. I've already got one that does that. These aren't even really worth selling off. Trying to use as little stash as possible this league just to make it a bit easier. I'll find one along the way. I'll find a 5-link axe. I'm not too worried about it. I actually kind of like being as self-sufficient as possible when I'm running through. Occasionally, like, I'll buy some items from the shop and everything, but or from the trade market, but for the most part, I try and self-find as much stuff as possible for my builds. I appreciate the offer, though. I always tend to try and push myself in this game. Which is why next league I'm probably going to try and just make the most outlandish build ever. Just try to put together some stuff that you just don't see anyone using. So yeah, I didn't realize, like, I actually started kind of piecing things together for a Cyclone build as soon as the melee changes were announced. And then it turned out as soon as, you know, I started paying attention to what other people are doing that, you know, everyone was running Cyclone builds, I guess. But next league I'll hope to get something a little crazy put together. as weird as it sounds, I kind of want to struggle again. That's honestly, to me, the funnest part of, like, mid-game. It's like when you don't have all of your skill gems that you need, and you're still kind of building up your passive tree to get to where you want to be at. See the hatchery, so probably best building through the storage room. Oops.
I've got some in me, you see. This spell.
Incursions are so much fun with a Cyclone build. Oh, somebody drop a Stone of Passage. Oh, kill me, Smalls. That's alright. Wow, that was some hardcore lag right there, actually. Wasn't letting me pick up anything for a hot minute. Leap Slam is really great for this area. Literally jump over those gaps. Back for that strong box. I just want to clear out that area first so I can identify this. Oh, once again, I've been forgetting to proc my my golem. Those poor guys get neglected by me all the time. 1261% increased rarity of contained items. That's pretty insane. Hopefully get some nice drops from this box. 6 socket. It's good for some jeweler's orbs at least. That's the other weird thing that Cyclone does from time to time. It's doing the thing where it won't hit again. I found sometimes it'll be stuck proccing too, and you won't be able to move, and you'll just sit there whirling around. I don't know, Cyclone does some really weird stuff. But I'm sure anyone else who's running Cyclones run into the exact same problems. I'm sure the weird little things in Cyclone won't really start to frustrate me until I'm mapping.
Just in time. I knew you'd find me.
Tunnels.
You and I were 2 coins in the
Just keeps putting me in the dumbest areas.
Your last 4 I thought was a little questionable. You found yourself a
Yeah, I'll enter, but next time you better put me towards the top of the temple. Colors are so pretty. So we need some more enemies. See how much we can actually kill here. No, we're not gonna. Well, we might finish him off. It's gonna be close. Yeah, we did it. That helmet might be decent.
The temple looms
Didn't unlock anything though. No, there we go. It's doing it again. I've actually had it happen more often tonight than it's usually happened. Oh yeah, the Tabula Rasa. Yeah, Tabula Rasa is great. I'm honestly always happy when I end up replacing it, but it means that essentially I found a good 6-link that actually has stats on it. I actually took a chance and tried corrupting one last league, and yeah, that didn't go well. I had 2 of them on the same character, so I just said, you know, screw it, I'll take a shot and try corrupting one, and because you can potentially corrupt some stats on there, but yeah, it didn't work out. Let's face it, man, all of our lives were over as soon as this game hit PS4. Done deal. If it was on Switch and could be played offline on Switch, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Somebody drop me something good here. Well, chromatic items better than nothing. Probably getting to that point in the game where I don't necessarily need to keep picking up all these scrolls of wisdom. It's like having them on hand, so that way once I get to the point where I'm mapping, I don't really ever have to worry about picking them up. Because later on in the game I just stop identifying items nearly as much, just because when you're trying to do the Chaos Orb recipe or the Regal Orb recipe, you just get a lot more for unidentified items. So at that point, I'm typically only identifying stuff that could potentially be a replacement for my current gear. And you know, you'll have specific slots where you have your uniques, so you're not really looking for an upgrade there anyways. Oh, I gotta collect fireflies. This is probably my least favorite mission in the entire game. Go back into town and gain a reward. Probably isn't a bad idea anyways. We've got too many items in our inventory that we can sell off. Buy my stuff. Yeah, not much of a point in identifying either of those. Although I am getting to a point where I do need to start thinking about replacing some of these items. I haven't actually checked them in a minute. My axe will be about due soon. Chest pieces due. The boots will be staying regardless. Gloves are decent. Wow, that sash is terrible. Yeah, I need to be on the lookout for more sashes. I haven't even been paying attention to it. Exalts are so ridiculously random. I don't think the last lab's too bad, to be honest. For me, any lab is always based off the difficulty of the last room.
Yes.
I've never really struggled with boss fights or actually getting to the different boss rooms. For me, it's literally just a matter of, if that last room is set up in a super crappy way to where you can just be teleported onto a bunch of traps and just like insta-killed almost. That's what gets me like 98% of the time if I die in the lab. It's never the traps, it's never anything that... It's always that stupid area that feels super cheap, Hey, Fearless, how's it going tonight, dude? Let's see. Oh, I still gotta talk to the old man over here.
Greeting. Fascinating.
Another passive. Just finish off this little branch of life nodes. Almost 2,300 now. That's not too horrible, but yeah, we need to boost that up. Want to get that to 5,000 before the end of Act 10. So now I think we gotta get the stupid fireflies. Yep. God, I hate this mission so much. If they were to take any mission out of the game, I wish it was this one. Yeah, I don't know how long it'll take grinding, but I'm hoping that by Friday at the latest, the Friday stream, I'll be ready to map with community members. It doesn't even have to be mapping, like we can delve, like kind of do whatever. I've just been wanting to do more community/subscriber interaction. Promote the multiplayer aspect of the game. Unfortunately, the biggest tip I can give you for 6-linking something is to have a ton of luck. I mean, obviously, like, improving your quality all the way is essential. There are some crafting recipes, or there is a crafting recipe that you can obtain later in the game. And it'll 6-link an item for you, but I mean, it's relatively expensive. And I don't think you find it until much, much later in the game. But yeah, I'd say rub 17 Lucky Rabbit's Foots, do 30 Hail Marys, and hope for the best. And I wouldn't even attempt it unless you've got, like, and I'm not even exaggerating, at least 1,000 fusing orbs. And to be honest, that probably still won't be enough. That's why I like that at Ziri's pyramid map so much. Just because if you up the quality of that all the way to 20, why is it up? Register, there we go. Typically you'll find some sort of 6-link in there. And the downside is it'll typically be corrupted, so you need a little bit of luck with that. Yeah, I'm the last person who likes being a negative Nancy, but trying to 6-link something, you're gonna burn through a ton of fusing orbs. Pretty much slaughter like 3,000 rabbits. Wipe their feet and their blood all over your fusing orbs. Sacrifice them to the almighty RNGesus. Like, to put it in perspective, you'll probably get like 2 exalted orbs to drop before you get before you 6-link an item.
You are like the frog.
I think it's supposed to. Pretty sure once you maximize your sockets, so like if you do in a helmet you get 4 sockets, it should stop at that point. It shouldn't keep going. What's up, Dirk? Let's see. Oh yeah, that's right, we grabbed that because it was chromatic.
Greetings.
To be honest, I don't even know if people call those chromatic items. I just always have. Like, that literally might just be something I made up. I don't even know. But I'm gonna keep calling them that. Gives me a chromatic orb, so I call it a chromatic item. Alright, Yina, open sesame. I was making a point to say that's how something should work. Just because, not so much with GGG, but just any sort of game that's patched off and in general. You never know when something like that's going to get screwed up. Although I do honestly believe in the most part that GG doesn't typically break things when they patch their games. Well, when they patch their game. But like, I remember back when I played Marvel Heroes, like every time there'd be a big patch, they would pretty much break just as much stuff as they'd fix. I think a large part of that had to do with the fact that like they had a completely different programming team for the most part working on the game later on. So when you get different people, you know, working on code, different groups of people, they're basically trying to Frankenstein code together at that point, just because people don't all code the same. Yeah, most coders can read each other's code and figure it out over time, but some coders are really good at keeping everything super organized to the point where if someone else does come in and have to work on their code or their project, like, it's not that bad. And then there's some coders that just really think outside the box and are just kind of all over the place. Nice, that's an awesome drop. 3 times a day? That's harsh. I think like even at like peak crashing, the most I've ever crashed is like twice in a day. And the only time I had like severe issues being disconnected was actually the day I was having ISP problems. I ended up having to get a hold of Charter Spectrum and have them literally come out to my house to fix it. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the common courtesy when it comes to coding, is you want to create something that other people can potentially work on, especially if you're working in a large group. Especially working on game engines, just because, like, you don't, you know, you may move on to something else even after the game's already made. And if they decide to, like, make a sequel or use that game engine again, you know, you want your code to be relatively simple to read. Nice, so we're finally getting some 6 socket items at least. One other thing I want to do this league too, since I'm just going to be focused on one character, is just gather up a ton of currency, and we'll literally just go through like some crafting methodology. Like we'll have a stream where like we literally just sit there and try and craft some solid items. Because I think having a knowledge of crafting is one of the most useful things you can have in this game. I guess it's not terrible then, I guess, if you're getting over 2 hours of gameplay in before crashing. I mean, it's bad that I'm saying that because your game shouldn't be crashing at all, to be fair. But I mean, I suppose it could be more frequent. But yeah, like, they've got a lot of optimization left to do in this game. Like, I can deal with it personally, but, like, my big thing is, you know, one of the reasons I started making content for this game was to make things less frustrating for people, so more people would play the game, because, I mean, I don't have any, like, professional stake in the game. Like, I don't work for GGG or anything like that. Like, I don't make any money off of, you know, the game being active, but, you know, I like the game and I want the game to succeed. So I mean, that's why I always hope for the best. Nice, another 6 socket item. Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to teach a lot more about crafting. That's one of the biggest reasons why I want to start delving, just so I can kind of walk you guys through a lot of the resonator and fossil crafting, because that's your best probability for good items in this game. So I mean, if you have extra stash tabs to store like fossils and resonators in, and you're delving, like, hold on to that stuff.
spirit is spent.
My spirit is spent. Oh crap, I think it was actually where I was supposed to be, all the way up here. Yeah, 6 link's always going to be expensive. The way to kind of gauge the pricing on it is, you know, essentially 1 chaos is typically worth about 4 orbs of fusing. I think maybe it's 3. So I mean, given how many orbs of fusing they probably use to actually 6 link that item, he didn't necessarily get that bad of a deal. It's actually pretty decent. Oh, for sure. RNG can be cruel as hell. I think my favorite drop was actually in Flashback when I had an Exalted Orb drop on stream. It's nice because when you get an Exalted in 2, you reinstill people's faith that they actually can drop. Now if I could just get a mirror to drop, that'd be something. If I could get a mirror to drop, I'd feel like I won the game. Oh, he's got an Exile to drop? Nice, dude. Congrats. I knew I was gonna lag back again. I've noticed typically whenever I get to that point where I stop hitting things altogether, or if I try and open some sort of object or like flip over a stone and it just doesn't do it, usually means I'm about to rubber band backwards. It's not my internet, because my internet connection's actually relatively solid, or at least it has been lately. Expected. Oh, no worries, man. Go with the pure armor. Thanks for the heads up, dude. Have a good one. That's how I know people have been to multiple streams of mine, when they're reminding me about my passive points. Always forget about my passive points. Everyone's getting to know me all too well. I've been rubber banding pretty much the entire time the game's been out, unfortunately. I typically utilize my movement skill a lot in just about every build I ever create, though, so that could be why too. Because I've noticed rubber banding happens a lot more when I use a movement skill. Alright. Time for the boss fight. Yeah, I've died plenty of times from the rubber banding. It happened to me a lot in Flashback. And it sucks too, 'cause it's like there's nothing you can do about it. This boss fight shouldn't be too bad. Why don't you run and hide, you coward? Leave him alone! Leave him alone! Oh, same. I think you have to be a complete masochist to want to play hardcore on console. The game's not optimized enough. I love the game, don't get me wrong, but like, I'm also not the type of person to sugarcoat stuff. Like, there's stuff that has to be fixed. Yeah, just because, you know, you really enjoy something doesn't mean you have to act like everything's perfect. Yeah, I'm fully aware that Path of Exile has stuff to fix. The one-handed club, that sucks.
Is the true climax of perverted lust. Many artists.
You hear that? You hear that? No. It is.
And Act 7 is done. I am proud to say I have not broken a controller in a very long time. I've managed to lock that down a bit. I think having my kid mellowed me out a lot as a gamer. Probably as a person in general, but definitely when gaming. I get more disappointed playing games now than actually frustrated. But then again, I don't play hardcore, so I feel like I would skip frustration and go straight to anger. What's that line that he says in Anger Management? The anger sharks are swimming in my head. Right? I don't have the money to be spending on controllers and I have the patience to repair it. So I keep my stuff intact. I was tempted to get a new controller recently though, because I think it might still be going on actually. Sony has their big Days of Play sale. So controllers are down to like $40 in most places. So for any of you who need a controller, now's probably the time to get one. There's actually a lot of cool stuff on sale right now. I haven't watched it yet, but I picked up that Into the Spider-Verse animated movie. That was like $10 on Blu-ray and Amazon this weekend. I thought that was a solid buy. I've heard good things. And I just like Marvel in general. Like, I've been trying to somewhat stop paying as much attention to the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 stuff that's been coming out, but like, I've had a hard time avoiding it just because it always piques my curiosity. I think that game's actually really good. Mainly because they've talked about actually putting in some somewhat complicated systems into place, and obviously, as someone who enjoys Path of Exile, I enjoy complicated things. Yeah, one of these days I need to make some time to actually sit down and watch Into the Spider-Verse. I heard it's awesome. Like, and I grew up watching the old Spider-Man cartoon on Fox. It froze me. I wasn't paying attention. Freezes you inactivated. That's always the one that gets me. Think that's our first rip of the night. It's all because I wasn't paying attention. So all in all, I'm actually pretty satisfied with how this build's come along. Thanks for the coins.
I believe in traveling light.
Do I really have that much stuff on me? Oh, that's no good. That's not really that great either. Oh, that'll probably at least wield me some elk orbs. Or well, some elk shards, not orbs. So we're getting close to reaching town. It is super satisfying for these melee builds to finally be viable, to just get up in everything's face and just destroy. I don't need that. Chromatic items. Yeah, it's all stuff worth holding on to. One chromatic item in the dust isn't that bad. That one's not chromatic, it's not actually attached. There we go, Star encampment. I was doing relatively low damage with this character for a while too, and it's just the way that I jumped around and picked up my passive nodes, and I was in a similar situation where my two-handed weapon wasn't very good. I've been using this axe for a decent amount of time, but it's getting to the point where this thing's about ready to be replaced too. Yeah, I'm level 48, so it's 11 levels lower than my character. But I mean, I'm also running areas that are lower level than my character, so I'm not necessarily going to find items that are level 59 right now. But I mean, you can see the affixes I have on here. It works really well with my build, because obviously it has that increase to physical damage percentage, which I'm only doing physical damage. It adds on some flat physical damage, increases my attack speed, causes bleeding on hit, and gives extended stun duration. It is literally all stats that I can use, so I kind of lucked out in finding this axe. It's been pretty solid for me. It literally, there's not a wasted affix on it, which is super rare to run into something like that. And that's probably the other reason why I don't do solo self-found, is because of the fact that, like, if I just have that one item that I need, I can just, toss some chaos orbs towards getting it. Like, don't get me wrong, like, the item shop, it still has a long ways to go. Like, there's still things that are priced outrageously, but I feel like there's more and more reasonable people that are finally starting to actually list some stuff. Most of the stuff's still inflated, but I mean, if I have to pay, like, 8 chaos for an item that's only worth 3 or 4 chaos, that's whatever. Like, that doesn't really bother me that much. It's when there's, these unique items that cost, like, 20 chaos and someone wants an exalted orb for it. It's like, dude, you're crazy. Like, there's just no way. Sell this stuff off.
What do you want?
I want you to buy stuff, but you don't. You're not one of those NPCs. Got 2 alchemy shards. I was hoping to get more for that. Set all this stuff aside. That's alright. I like this axe so far. Plus the way that I've got this built at the moment, I wouldn't have anything to add on to the other 2 links, just because I've got my Ancestral War Chief on my weapon at the moment. Eventually I'll need, a 6-socket weapon, but odds are I'll probably split it into 3 and 3. Although at this point, because of the way that I'm running my my golem, I don't know if I'll actually run those support gems on it or not. It all depends. I do kind of want to get a decent little cast when damage taken support setup, and I haven't implemented that quite yet. And I mean, that can go either way. I can kind of use that I didn't realize I put this stack of cards in here. I can kind of use that towards more DPS, more defense, or I mean, I've actually got enough gems to where I can kind of do both. But I definitely appreciate the offer. Yeah, I'm a bit of a hoarder. So I mean, I actually have something in all of these tabs in standard right now. But as it stands right now in this league, I'm trying to keep most of them empty. In all reality, I'll probably end up using a lot of these once I start delving. But at this point, I mean, we've reached the beginning of Act 8, and truthfully, it's getting pretty late here. I do have to work early in the morning, so probably call it a night for the stream. I'm having a lot of fun now that I'm back on YouTube streaming again, to be honest. Like, the whole Twitch thing was a nice little experiment, but I've just honestly missed my regular viewers on YouTube, being able to, you know, kind of be a part of the stream and everything, because not everyone views stuff on Twitch, and I think YouTube's just a better platform for what I do anyways. So yeah, I definitely appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out with me during these streams. I have a lot of fun with it. You know, I try to be informative during the streams, but more than anything else, I kind of just like interacting and chatting and just having fun. So, you know, thanks again for stopping in, you guys. I'll have some more videos obviously coming in the upcoming weeks. And yeah, hopefully it'll be some stuff you guys find useful. I'm going to try and rush to end game. And like I said, we're going to do some community play. So definitely go ahead and join our PS4 community. It's Bullshifters Exiles if you're not a member yet. And, you know, hopefully I'll be playing with you guys pretty soon. And yeah, we'll have some fun. So good night, everyone. Thanks again for joining in. And until next time, may the RNG be with you. Always.